Okay, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you are seeing this stream. Today, I welcome you all to front end, second stage of our web designing class. If you manage to get down to the end of this second stage, I will be progressing to back end. Alright, during this section, we'll be covering HTML, CSS, and we will also cover JavaScript. And then we'll talk about Bootstrap, how it can actually aid or uh, how it can help our designing skills and speed. Now, without further ado, let us um, venture into what we have to do. So you have to install, right? So once you press enter, you click on download. It's loading. Now, as you can see, you can install for Windows, you can install for Debian, Ubuntu, you can install for Red Hat, Fedora, SUSE, SE. They are all Linux based. You can also install for Mac, but for the purpose of this class, I will download for Windows. Once it's downloaded, you install it. Now, during the installation phase, let's go to VS Code installation steps. Once you download it and you are installing it, we're going to images. I want to show you important option to click, right? You see this coming. So it's loading. Is my network, I feel, is a bit slow. All right, so this particular image, I want it to show very well this image. Now, if you look at this image very well, you will see some option. Yeah, it's clear now. You see create a desktop icon. You can mark it if you like. You can leave it if you don't like. Now, another thing that you have to do is add open with code action. This is important to Windows Explorer 5 context menu. Mark it. It's very important. Then add open with code action to Windows Explorer directory context menu. Mark it. Add to path is very, very important. Then register code as an editor for supported files. So meaning all of these orders are important. All of these orders are important, but the additional icon on the desktop is if you like. Some people don't like desktop icon on their desktop, so you can leave it, and if you like it for a shortcut purpose, you can add it. Now that we know what to choose when installing, the next thing that we have to do is I'm going to close this guy now because I don't need it any longer. So the next thing we have to do now is we uh, begin, you know, designing our website. So what we do is I'll go to my desktop. Look at my desktop. It's very, very scattered. Don't mind me. Sort by name, sort by file type, item type, So all of this, all of this, all of this, because I'm still going to. All right. Okay, so it's fair like this. So what I'm going to do is I have on my folder here. Right, I'm going to create a folder on the desktop. Very first thing to do, new folder, and I'll call it front end. Boom. So this is it, front end. Now I double click to open the folder, and I'll right click inside the folder and I will say show more option and open with code. Now that I have opened with code, so it's asking me to trust the author. Yes, I trust the author. So I'll go to market. That is under extension here. I need to install some extensions. I need to install some extensions. That is very, very important. I need to install some extension that is very, very important. I need to install some extension that is very, very important. So now look at that. I've installed C sharp because I'll be needing it very soon. I've installed that. I've installed dev container. I've installed so many containers, right? So many plugins. Now, the plugin that must be installed by you, make sure that you install HTML. I'm looking for it. Now, this is Bootstrap 5, right? It's important. I've installed it. Bootstrap 5 is important to install it. I've installed my own, right? Also, you have some recommended, when you just install your VS Code, there will be some recommended plugin that it will be asking you to install. It's also good if you can install them, but for the purpose of this course, they are not required, right? They are not what? They are not required. Now, another thing that I want you to install is you should install HTML5, HTML, right? HTML, I've installed it. I've installed mine. So install JavaScript, HTML, CSS. They are very important. Another one that I want us to install is SAS. I'm going to search for it. It's called SAS. Okay. Now this is a live SAS compiler, right? I've installed it as well. I've installed it. You have to install that live SAS compiler. So I have it installed. I have it what? Installed. I have it installed. Okay. Now we'll go to Since I've installed this guy, then I'll go back to file. Look at it, this is file here. Go back to file. I'm on file already. I'm on file already. Then next thing that I want to do, uh I'm inside the CS. So the very first thing I want to do is create some folder inside the front end. Don't forget that I first created a folder on my desktop and I open it with code. Like right click and you say open with code. Right after that, it will take you to code, right? Then next thing we want to do is make sure that you install the extension. The next thing we have to do is create a new folder. That folder, I want to call that folder CSS. That means that is where all our CSS file will go into. Then another folder, I'm calling that one font. So that font, if you look at it now, you see that it's directly under CSS, but that's not what I want, right? I'll click back on front end and I'll hit to add another folder. I'll call that one font. Then I'll go back, I'll click on another folder. I'll call that one JS, right? I'll click down, then I'll click to add another folder, images. Now, looking at all of this, I have CSS font images JS. I'll click out again and I'll create another folder. I'll call it. So now I have asset CSS font images JS. All of these guys, CSS font images, they are supposed to be inside assets. So how do I do that? I'll just drag it and put it inside asset. Yes. I'll take font, drag it to asset. Yes. I'll take images, drag it to asset. Yes. And I'll take JS, drag it to asset. Good. So now I have all of this folder inside asset. So inside my CSS, I'll firstly create a file. I'll call it style.css. I'll press enter. So now inside my CSS, I already have style. Inside it again, I'll create another file and I'll call it style.sass. Now look at that. So I have styles.sass and I have styles.css. Now the next thing I want to do is inside my JS, I'll right click and say new file and I'll call it styles.js. So successfully I have set my folder up and I'm ready to start coding. Look at, I have all of them set up and I'm ready to start what? Coding. I'm ready to start coding. So now the next thing I want to do is that I can press Ctrl Shift P, right, and I can do SAS. Once I do SAS, I say open life size output. So once I do that, but before you can do that, make sure that you install live SAS compiler. Before you can do that, make sure that you've what? Installed live SAS compiler. You can press Ctrl Shift P again. I can say watch live SAS, watch SAS, right? Once I do that, so now immediately I say watch SAS, e say it's watching it. So from my I already have styles.sas. If I open it and if I open that, I will introduce you to that very soon because we are not starting from there. I'm just explaining how you will set up your SAS and how you will set up your project. So don't forget, you create a main folder, you open that folder with code. Once you have done that, you create a folder called asset. Inside asset, you create a folder called CSS, font, images and JS. Inside CSS, you create a SAS, a style.css, and you create a style.sas. Don't forget, I'm not the one that created this guy in the middle. I only create style.css and I create style.sas. Then create another folder called font, another folder called images. Then inside the folder called JS, I created a file called styles.js. Right? I've opened my SAS file. And the reason I'm showing you this is because I will not be writing CSS. Rather, I'll be writing what? I'll be writing SAS. I'll be writing SAS. I'll be writing what? SAS. So, for instance, I can say body, open it. Inside body, sorry, I can say HTML, open it. Inside HTML, I have body. Don't worry, I'm going to explain all of these things in detail. So if I save it, immediately I saved it, I have an error in the HTML. I have an error in the HTML. That is because uh, there are some, I think I have one particular error here. That's a compilation error. That's a compilation error. And normally there should be no error here, but I'll be coming back to this. What I'm just showing you is that immediately I'm writing anything in SAS, it should be giving me the style.css of that particular SAS code, right? So sorry if I do .html and I do this, I'm having an error which is not supposed to be. I do HTML, then I do body and I save that. So see, this selector doesn't have any property and won't be rendered. If I go back to my CSS, I still didn't have anything. So in the body, I can add, okay, Okay, first of all, I'll say let me rename this guy and save it. SCSS, right? So now I have body, and now now there's no error again. So if I go to my CSS now, I should have some things there. As once I've done the compilation, once I'm done with the compilation, okay. So but now I don't have anything inside my CSS yet, right? So if I do with with if I do with 100%, I hit save, it should have generated an asset for me inside this CSS. So look at that now, right? So but by the time we get to this, if I go back to my style.scss and I say height, we are not that's not where we are going to write. I'm just explaining what I will be writing to you. And if I go to my style, it should have written the height for me. If I go to styles again, that's my SCSS. If I say margin margin 0, for instance, and I go back to my CSS, should have added margin. So the reason I'm using SCSS, or the reason I'll be using SCSS during the program, is because it is easier to write and understand, and at the same time it is easier to track when you are writing SCSS. So you can easily track your code, you can easily see the child and how they are nested to each other. But that's not where we're going to, like I said. So now we have created an asset folder. Inside the asset, we create a CSS, create font folder, images folder, JS folder. Inside CSS again, we created styles.css and we create styles.scss. Don't forget that I'm not the one that created styles.css.map. Immediately you say watch, it will create this for you. And inside font, nothing, we don't have anything yet. Inside images, we don't have anything, and inside JS we have styles.js. Now let's create a new file. Don't forget the very first file in your front end folder. In your front end folder, look at the file I was trying to create is inside there, but I want it inside the front end. That's why I'm clicking out right here. I'll click on this guy and I'll say index.html. Ensure that your first file is named index. Ensure that your first file is named index. Ensure that your first file is named index, right? Ensure that your first file is named index. So I'll go back to my VS Code right now. Don't forget, before I started, I have installed some plugin here. Part of it was Live SAS compiler and HTML5. I've installed that as well. I've installed that. I've also installed Bootstrap 5. Therefore, I'll go to my index.html and I'll write HTML5. Immediately I do that, I'm expecting I'm expecting some I'm expecting what they call uh IntelliSense, right? I'm expecting an IntelliSense. So the essence of the IntelliSense is to generate an option for me, option that I can use instead of me to type everything. The essence of the IntelliSense is to generate what? Option for me. Immediately I click on HTML5, it will automatically write this for me. It will automatically write this for me. So look at it. I am not the one that wrote all of this. And why do I have it? It's because it helps us to work faster. HTML5, boom, and it gives us. Do you get now? Do you see it? So, and now we're explaining all of this guide and how it should be what? It should be written. So if I back with the same thing, right? So if I do doc type, if I do doc type, you see this is giving me doc type. So this, the essence of the doc type is to tell the browser what we are working on. So if I do doc type like this, and inside the doc type I do HTML. That's just telling the browser that I'm working on what? I'm working on HTML, or the docking type, the document type that the browser will be reading is HTML, right? That's the essence of the doc type. After that, I will have HTML. So this HTML is telling the browser that the HTML begins from here and it ended here. So inside the HTML I can do lang, so that is the language I want to use, and or the language the browser is expecting is English. Then inside it, this is the convention. This is the way you must open your tags. They are called nested tag or tag inside tag, and they should be arranged in that manner. After the HTML, the next thing I want to explain to you is HTML is just like a letter. In our letter, we have three sections. We have the greeting section where you would address and greetings address section where you would type the recipient and the sender address. So in this case, we call that head. Look at that, head, right? In the letter, you have the address section. Then you have the body of the letter, so we call that body as well. And then at the end of the letter, we have footer. But most often than not, the footer will be inside the body. So in HTML, we have two sections, the head section and the what? The body section. Look at that. So they are on their own. So inside the head section, I will have a tag called title inside the head section. Still inside the head section, I will have other tags like meta. I'll have other one like link, right? Inside the head section, link. So those are one of the things that will be inside the head section. And inside the body is where I'll be typing everything I want to show on my in the browser. So if I save this work now and I go to my folder, you will see that I have index. So if I should double click to open the index, all these jargons that I have inside the body is the only thing that I will see in the browser. Is loading. So you still okay here. Now you see that that's the only thing I'm seeing here. I'm seeing only those jargons. Look at that. So that is showing to you, that's to tell you that whatever it is in the body is what you see here. Whatever it is in the body is what you see here. So uh, whatever you see in the body is, I mean, whatever you put to between this body tag is what you will see um, here, right? Is what you will see here. Now, without delaying us too much, I'll delete all of this back and I'll do look at this very well, HTML, right? I'll move to the 5, press enter. So it has generated same thing that I deleted has been generated. The doc type is HTML, the language is English. Then inside the head, look at it, inside head, I have, let me format it very well so that you can see it very well. You see that HTML is the beginning tag and that's the end tag. Inside it, we have two tags, head and body nested, right? Then inside the head, we have meta and we have title. We'll be adding other things. So let me explain the meta to you. The meta character set is telling you the language um format, the language format. That's what the meta tag is telling you, the language format. So you can see that that is UTF. So what is the full meaning of UTF? You can see that this is UTF-8. What's the full meaning of UTF-8? UTF-8 is actually a variable length character encoding standard that is used for electronic communication. You can see used for electronic communication. And don't forget that all of these are access, all these are web pages, web design things, all the web pages are being accessed through the use of electronic devices. And then this UTF-8 is defined by the Unicode standard and the name is derived from Unicode Transformation Format. That is UTF, Unicode Transformation Format. It is actually 8 bits, as you can see. The 8 in front of it denotes 8 bits. So it's capable of encoding all our 112, like we have a lot of character, about 1,112,064 valid character code in Unicode using 1241 bytes. So all of this I'm telling you because when they ask you that what is this UTF mean, it means Unicode Transformation Format 8, and it is used in transforming, in encoding our characters, right? Then the next one that we have, the meta, this viewport, right? We have meta, we have viewport, we have content, and we have initial scale. What does it mean? What does it mean? The meta viewport tag is the area of the window in which web content can be seen. That is the area of the window where your web content, all those things that you type inside the body, where what? The viewport is where they can be seen. At the same time, at the same time we have content, which is talking about the width, that is the device width. The device width in the sense that are you checking it on phone or you are checking it on what? On desktop, right? So the width controls the size of the viewport. That is, can be set to a specific number of pixels like 600, right? 600, or you can use special value device width, which is 100 VW. VW means viewport, or you can also say 100% of the viewport width. Minimum is 1, while maximum is 10,000. Anything that is negative value is what? Is ignored. So at the same time, you can also set height of your viewport. Look at this, is width, and this is initial scale. Initial scale control the zoom level when the page is first loaded. Okay, for instance, let me come to the body and type Fred, and now I've typed Fred. Let me come here, launch it, and let us see the initial scale. It's still loading, still loading. This time to load local file. Shouldn't be that long. Shouldn't be that long. Okay, so this is Fred. Look at that, Fred. And that's because I'm on initial scale of 1.0. Maximum is 10. So let me give it 5 and save it, and then come back here and reload. Something is wrong somewhere. Uh, Let me reload. I want to save what I have done. Don't forget I've added initial scale of 5.0. So it's a zoom level when your file firstly display. If I run the file now, we have the zoom level is not showing here, but we can control that with our CSS. Okay, so initial scale can be, but maximum is 10, so I'm leaving it as 1. So it affects the browser when the browser firstly load your value, I mean your web page. And then you can set minimum scale, you can set maximum, you can set your maximum scale. All of these are what we can set. What I'm saying in essence is that I can come here and say maximum scale, right? I can do maximum scale, right, is equals to 2. That means no matter how much I try to scale my work, the maximum scale can only be what? 2. Okay. Then I can set many other things like interactive widget, user scalable, the screen density, and so on. So that is what the uh, this meta tag is working for. So we have other types of meta tag, like you can do meta. See, you have a lot of tags here: redirect, refresh, UTF, that is the UTF format, viewpoint. Then meta for description. You can use this one to describe what your Google, I mean, with this. For instance, this meta tag is description. Now, if this meta tag element represent various kind of meta that cannot be expressing title, base link style, and so on. And this attribute defines the name of a piece, like the information obtained by the content attribute, or what the Google will use to identify your browser, right? I mean your web page, I mean. So if I say this is description and I come here and I say this site is index home of my and so on. By the time they search the name of your website on Google, so Google will actually pick this content to display, to describe your web page. So don't forget that when you want to start a new file, just type HTML and go to 5%. It gives you all of this. So the next thing I want to explain is the title. What's the title for? I can come here and say this is Facebook. Face. So by the time I come back to my page and I reload, you will see that the title of the page is now Facebook. Look at it. So that title is what with the data, is what will show the title of your what of your web page. So anything you want to name your web page should be put inside title. Uh, this. So if I go back there and I refresh, I'll have Redis there. Okay. So now that we are familiar with the basic uh, arrangement of the tag and their function, so let us see what we want to work on. We're going to do the division today, and then tomorrow we'll continue from wherever we stop, right? So if I go to my, okay, I think I have UI lesson here, and this is what we'll be working on. Look at this is what we want to be what we want to work on, right? This is what we want to work on. Now, what we want to do tonight is that we want to see how we can structure this web page. I want you to see it very well. From here, from this side to where we have educate, then from this level to where we have blue, from this blue to where it ended, from here from here down to this guy is another. Then from browse course by category down to uh okay, that's another section. Our most popular courses another section, and after that we have this guy as a section. Then what our student says as a section. Those are the things that we have. And then last but not the least is our footer. So if you look at what I have done now, this is 1, 2, I'm dividing it to 3, 4, everything here 4, then here 2, from here to here 5. Is that right? Then I can say from here to here is 5, and then this is 6, this is 7, and the last one, which is contact, that is not showing, that's 8. So we have 8 different sections on this page. So how can I undo that? What I'm going to do is that I'll firstly do HTML5. Then inside the body is where I want to add that 8 section. So I can do section, and I'll say times 8. Now you can see I have 8 section. Section times 8. and I'm going to name them one after the other. Now first section, ID is equals to okay, what can I okay, let me leave it as okay as it is. So first section is nav. So that means anything nav will be here. Then second section ID, I'll call it main body, and third section, let's see what we have in the third section. That is info, call it ID equals to info, right? After that section, this is a mistake. That will be here. That will be here. Now next section after the info, I'll call that why we are best from others. That's let me call that ID equals to intro, right? So is next one is browse calls by category. I'll call that browse. Next section I'll call that ID. I'll call it browse. Then after that next one is